Another way to say that is just like fucking super high ego, like arrogant way to like, oh yeah, y'all couldn't fucking do this without me type shit. There's a combination of all those things. Of course they do it without you.
Yep.
They don't do it as well, Ronnie.
Nope.
If we know anything, every place that we've left is worse off now than they were when they had us.
Oh, I'm ready to crack this beer.
Remember when we used to do this?
Yeah. I got like a 1 in 10 chance. I guess it's success rate. 1 in 10 success rate. Hello and welcome to Whipped Cream Salmon. I'm your host, Ronnie Sanchez. Joined with me, as always, my co-host, Brian Bastanza. We are Whipped Cream Salmon.
Yes, we are.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things food, friends, and mostly fuckery.
We do all those things.
Brian, how the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a good week. I got my hoodie on and my headphones on right now, so that's kind of working. I like it.
Yeah, you got a vibe. Brian's glowing right now. He's got his studio lights blasting.
Should I blast even harder?
God damn.
That's too much.
It's aggressive.
Yeah, I do that. I turn out white like Ronnie. I'll tilt it up a little bit. Don't want that.
I got to dim my lights. We got the sepia filter on.
I had a good week. I was saying that I got a new bike, a mountain bike.
Oh, yeah.
First time mountain bike owner. So I've been riding that a little bit, ripping it around, doing a couple, bunny hops.
Yeah, wheelies.
Whatever else people do. Wheelies, yeah.
You got baseball cards in your spokes yet?
Yep. Yeah, I had to replace the caps with skulls, or dice.
Oh, yeah.
Dice on one and a skull on the other.
That's what's up.
Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pegs?
No pegs yet.
Oh, you got to get some pegs.
Not super popular on the mountain bike trails.
That's weird.
I did do an endo, though. Remember endos?
Intentionally, or did you go?
Oh, yeah, a real one.
Okay.
Yeah. That was cool.
I remember being a kid trying to endo and not understanding the physics of it, and you're just riding and slam on your front brake.
Yep. That's how you get hurt. I will, one of these episodes, come in with a sling around to get my neck, and
oh man,
can't wait for that. That'll be good.
We got to live closer so we can ride bikes around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then we'll all meet up at like the electrical boxes,
Mm-hmm.
Just
I can maybe we get like a couple like 22s of Bud Ice or something.
Hell yeah.
We'll meet up and brown bag it.
Yeah, throw rocks at like street signs and
yeah.
Oh man.
One time when I was a kid, probably like 14, we were just like, it was snowing. And this is in New York, so it snows sometimes, but not that often, 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And we love just like being in the woods by the road and just like, just hucking snowballs at cars as they drove by. That was like something that we thought was really cool at the time.
Super fun.
Yeah. We'd get such a kick out of it when people would slam on the brakes. We'd just duck. They don't see us. And if they did, they weren't going to catch us. We were in the woods.
Smashing cars.
Could you imagine if you were like an adult, like if you were an adult and your car got hit by a snowball and you like got out of the car and ran to some kids that were like over 50 feet away probably?
Yeah, what's your plan once you get to them?
Yeah.
You're going to beat them up? You're going to beat them up?
You're going to beat them up?
Is that going to make you feel good about what just happened?
People love their cars though, and I don't know if I'm particularly proud of that moment in time, but you know, I do like a little fuckery, as you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you didn't do some fuck shit when you were a kid, like, I don't know, you didn't have the best childhood.
Yeah, you're probably a nerd.
Yeah, probably a nerd. You're probably getting fuck shit done to you then.
It wasn't a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't condone throwing snowballs at cars, but I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'll be honest, Ronnie. I would do that. I would still.
Like fun.
I'm 36. I would. I might do that still.
It still sounds like fun.
Yeah, I would have to hide better because I do feel like I could get beat up now.
Yeah, the consequences are greater.
Yeah.
Now, if you hit somebody's car and they got out and chased you, they would have the right to kick your ass.
Yeah. With a snowball, though, to beat me up over it?
I don't know.
I'd be more worried about getting shot, honestly. I mean,
again, I'm just saying I'd understand.
Maybe I'll come in.
Brian, where'd you get that black eye? Like, oh, well, I was throwing snowballs at people's cars as they drove by and be like, oh, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that.
There was once we, same kind of age range, maybe like 12 to 15 age range.
Uh-huh.
There's like a few of us kids in the neighborhood. There was maybe like 4 or 5 of us, and we and it was a snow day. Like we had off from school, and it was dumping. It was probably like, I don't know, a foot or a foot and a half of snow on the ground, and the snowplow was going around, and we were just like, we just had our sleds, and we were just like walking around the neighborhood, right? Like that's kind of what you did. And there was a snowplow like on the road, and we were like behind it, and we weren't like fucking with it, but we were like there by it, and like one of the moms in the neighborhood came out and like was like so like mad at us, and she was just like, we were being unsafe. And I don't, maybe we were, but like I don't exactly remember it that way. I mean, we were kind of by the snowplow, but like I didn't think we were gonna get hit or anything. But she came out livid, and she was like, when you see a snowplow, you think danger. Snowplow, danger. Snowplow, danger. And man, I mean, that was our friend Ashley, and we, I mean, she never lived that down. It really was nothing on her. Like we were always like making fun of her mom from that point forward. We were like, for sure. Oh yeah, danger.
Yeah, your mom's a nerd.
Yeah, that was like right around the same time as like when Mystical got hot, and it was like danger, you know. It's kind of that whole vibe. So it's a little insight into my past, Ronnie.
I like it.
Do you have a beverage to drink?
Yeah, I do, and I need it.
You need it?
I need it.
Tell me why you need it before going any further.
Just life.
Yeah.
I got this beer from a brewery called Vicious Fishes, and it's called Octopills. It's kind of a pretty sweet label there.
Oh, that is cool. 8 pills?
Yeah. Those guys getting swallowed up by the octopus.
Yeah, a little Kraken.
The Kraken.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's a Pilsner. What do you got?
I'm drinking a Singha.
Hell yeah. You got ice for that bad boy?
No, it's cold this time.
Okay.
So that's okay. I mean, it is warming up a little outside, but I think the fridge did its job this week.
That's pretty good there. Pretty good.
Pretty
nice.
Good.
I
Nice.
like that.
Little Pilsner. That's what Octopills. I put it together. I figured it out.
Yeah, see, Brian's getting it.
Yeah. Just one foot in front of the other, you know?
We're getting there. You cooking anything?
We had some friends over last Friday.
Okay.
And we did some ramen bowls.
Oh, yeah.
That were really fun.
That's fun.
We've talked about them on the pod, but I picked up some more of those fresh ramen noodles from the Asian market. Did like a sausage ramen.
Okay.
It's really just like ground pork and gallion, and had a nice chicken broth with like shiitakes, dried shiitakes, fresh shiitakes, ginger, garlic, all the things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. It was fire. Broth was awesome. You must get this all the time too. Like, where like you have someone come over or you're cooking for someone and they're like, "Oh, you got to give me this recipe," and I'm like, "I don't know what recipes are.
Yeah.
What does that mean?" You know, and
Yeah.
they're also like, you're just doing that without a recipe. They're very confused about like the existence or the non-existence of the recipe and how it
Right.
could be possible to make food without one. You know, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I do get that. I don't know if I talked about it on here. When I was, well, I kind of did. I think when I was in Arizona, and I told you, my sister threw together that nice dinner for my mom for her birthday.
A short rib, right?
Yeah, but and she had messaged me a few days earlier, or maybe a couple weeks earlier, and she was like, "Hey, I need a recipe for mashed potatoes," and I was like, I don't have a recipe for mashed potatoes. I can tell you how to make them, but I at this as much as easy as I can tell you how to make them, you could search a good mashed potato recipe and you'd probably have the same results because
Sure.
I'm not gonna, I don't have some secret mashed potato recipe. Um, you know, I mean, they turned out great. She had a great recipe that she came up with, but
Do you make mashed potatoes?
no,
I never do.
like never.
I love them.
They're great.
If I think I don't make them because I don't have a ricer.
Yeah.
And if I had a ricer, I think I would make mashed potatoes. But I feel like it's not icky, but like I just feel like I'm like, I'm not really, if it's not worth doing if I can't do it right almost. And you like having like mashed potatoes with some texture, like if someone serves me that, I'm like not offended by it, but it's also like, I don't know, when you have like real silky smooth taters, like
It's the best.
it's a really good
Yeah.
time. And so, yeah, I don't have a ricer. I don't really, I don't know, think too much about it.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. And I don't know. They're just kind of heavy to eat at home too
Mm-hmm.
for most meals. Um, Kind of a lot of effort for, I don't know, maybe they're not.
I mean, roasting
Just,
potatoes are way simpler and sometimes better.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree.
What else? We also went out to dinner last week. That was really nice. Sam had a gift card to this restaurant from her mom to this restaurant in town called 60 Vines,
Okay.
which is it's interesting. Well, first let me just say I had a really good meal. It was like it's kind of like a wine concept, big room, like bunch of seating.
Hmm.
Probably just by guesstimating, I don't know, probably like 200 seats more. Big room
Wow.
and some outdoor seating, so maybe even more than that. I had like I wanted to get they had a halibut on the menu, and I will always 100% of the time order halibut if it's on the menu. I
Yeah.
think. And it was and the waiter came over and they were out of the halibut and I wound up ordering this pork chop. And it was a really legit pork chop. You know, I mean,
Nice.
I love I love ordering pork. Even he even was like I don't know. I don't think a lot of people will order pork in the restaurant or like
Yeah.
order pork chop in the restaurants. Even we served it a lot at Plum Jacks,
Hmm.
and it was good. And if you do it well and you brine it and it's super juicy and big and like such an awesome cut of meat. But it is kind of odd for people, I think, to order that. And I don't know. I'm campaigning to eat more pork chops at restaurants. I think.
Yeah, I'm with that. And you mentioned that we had them at Plumjack, and yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah.
And when I went in, ate there with my family one time, they were in town, and I'm pretty sure we all got the pork chop.
Yeah.
They're always nice, like uh, double cut, French boned
Mm,
pork chop. They're really
yeah.
nice. Yeah, solid. Always got good pork in there too.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember the farm?
I have farms that are coming to my head, but I'm pretty sure it's not any of them.
Yeah. I do want to say something interesting about this restaurant, though. It's like almost critical, but I did have a really good time. So don't think that it's critical, but, or I don't know. The concept of like a quote unquote like high end restaurant, but the things on the menu are like not really that high end. I find, but like the atmosphere is really well done and the service is nice and the beverage like program seems to be like really dialed in, but the food is just like it's good. There's things on the menu like you could have a steak or the pork chop, but then there's also like a burger on there, and there's like some other kind of like I don't know, to me some like basic kind of dishes on there, and I don't. It's just odd to me that like when you go and spend like it because it was like a high end restaurant as far as like the price goes, and like the execution was good, but like the creativity I would say wasn't there, and I think that's by design. I think it's because even I was looking around, I was like, oh, this is a really big place. It's pretty popular. People don't like experimenting with flavors that they don't know necessarily on that scale. You just like, or maybe a different way to put it is, everyone at times wants a high end meal, but like what that means to them is different.
Yeah.
Than what it means to you and me. And I don't know. I don't really have anything bad to say about 60 Vines, but I was like, oh, the menu design left something to be desired in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that is a common thing that I also run into. And there is just like a lack of creativity. And I feel like so many places just kind of regurgitate the same generic meals and dishes over and over and over. You know, we've talked a lot about like not being the restaurant that like has to have a Caesar salad on the menu just because everybody has a Caesar salad. You know, like that's a good reason not to have one, I think.
Sure.
I can understand the argument both ways where people are like, oh, but that's what people like. It's like, sure, but you can go anywhere and get that. You know, it doesn't make it interesting.
Sure.
Or worthwhile even.
Like if you go to like it's different when you go to a steakhouse and it's like, I know I'm going to get potatoes, green beans, and like a ribeye.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, that's what I signed up for sure. I think there's this thing where we like, we put this disguise of this like high end, like, not Michelin star. I don't really have a way to describe this thing that's like high end, but not Michelin or anything. But it's like, oh, this is creative, this is trendy, this is cool, but it's like lacking in the food creativity. But again, I think it's on purpose because I don't think when I was sitting there, I was like, oh, like if you went more creative than this menu, I'm not sure you would fill all these seats.
Yeah.
Which is,
I could see that.
I don't know. It's just, it's sad in some ways. It's, I understand it and I'm sure it's good business. It's sad from the sense of like, man, all cooks want to do when they get into the industry is like play with food. And then you get there and you're greeted with a bunch of people who are just like, give me the burger. And then, you know, years later, you're just still hearing the same thing. And you break up into like levels of like, of how high end the place could be. And you're still kind of just, people just want the burger. And sometimes I just want the burger. So I don't know. Again, it's not critical. It's just an observation.
Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with getting the burger, you know?
Yeah, but but it is different. Like when you're at, I wouldn't find myself very often buying the burger when it's the cheapest thing on the menu. or it's one of the, like, there might be like at this place, there was like a sandwich, there was a burger, then there was like entrees. I'm not going to like order the burger at that place very often.
Yeah.
Maybe for lunch, if you go to like a dinner place for lunch, okay. But I don't know. That we used to get, all of us used to be upset about that type of shit at Plum Jacks. You know, most notably Jack Connell he's like, don't let people order the burger in the dining room. They're taking up a reservation. We have full seatings for the whole night, and this homie in ski boots is ordering the burger when like there's a really good steak on the menu.
Yeah. 100%. I understand the frustration in that. Like you're saying, if they're taking up a seat and they're ordering the burger and fries, which, now I don't know how much it costs, but back then it was probably like, I don't know, 13, 14, $15, something like that for a burger and fries. And everybody else in that dining room is eating a $50 steak or scallops or halibut or double cup pork chop. And that seat could be used for somebody else that would also be ordering that, especially on like a sold out night.
Here's a question for you. Does the presence of the burger at the table lower the quality of the meal for the other people at the table?
I don't know. I think it's kind of
pretentious. It's kind of BS.
Yeah, it's kind of petty too.
Yeah.
But I get it. But like also like if you're going out to like a nice restaurant, part of what makes eating fun is that like at least for you and I, like going out and getting a bunch of different things and then maybe like try a little bit of what's on my plate. I would try a little bit of what's on your plate, just as like diners. Like I'm excited to see what they have to offer. You get the burger. I don't know. I don't have that same kind of excitement.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. And like, I don't need to try a piece of your burger to know what your fucking burger tastes like.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, maybe if they got some crazy cheese or whatever, like, yeah, but other than that, I don't really have anything. That's a fun point. I heard recently, I was listening to a podcast, not food related, and the person I was talking was like, "Oh, I hate when I go out to dinner and someone is like, "Oh, let's just get a bunch of stuff and let's share it." And I was like, "Oh, that's like literally what I do."
That's
like,
my favorite thing to
every
do.
single time when I go out. Especially it's not every time I go out. Like if I go out to like a work lunch, I'm not like, "Hey, let's like share our meals." Sure. But like, I mean, obviously if you and I go out, we're definitely, that's the style of eating that we like.
Yeah.
I get fucking 6 things for the 3 of us and we'll eat it all.
Yeah, and if we don't, then bring it home. We'll have it later.
Yeah.
Get some breakfast dumps.
Mm-hmm. I just did think that was funny that like I don't know that people don't like that. There's also like there's a difference of opinion about like how a group of people should manage like the check. I think like often like what I would refer to is like is if we're dining in the style that we're kind of describing, then like there's 4 of us, then maybe if we're gonna split it, then like maybe we just all split it.
Yeah.
And it's all like, I don't really fucking care about which drink or which like
right.
$2 here, $2 there, whatever.
No, and if you're that kind of diner, I just don't want it to go out with you.
That's kind of how I feel. It's not that like I don't respect that like that's how you see it, and if you like, I don't want people to feel like they got when they went out because they like didn't, or they like got less than but paid more than what they should have. But I want it to be community. I want it to be family style always, every meal.
For sure. That, and I don't want to have to discuss math at the end of my meal.
Yeah.
Bring me the bill.
Math is for the morning.
Just throw
Math.
it. Yeah. Like, I spent how much? Just throw down the cards and, you
Yeah.
know,
Act
call it
like
a
you've
day.
been there before, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
That's my motto.
Even if you haven't.
Yeah.
I just pride myself on being a good diner.
I do too. I'd like to talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that.
What does that mean to you?
Being kind and courteous to the wait staff.
Yeah.
Being a patient diner and understanding diner that, like,
Sure.
shit happens. It's okay to be like, if things go really wrong, like, I've been frustrated in restaurants for sure, you know?
Especially since we've like done it well.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, when something is taking like 35 minutes and you're like, fucking, that shouldn't be the way. I've fucked up things before,
But even if they are taking 35 minutes, if it's handled the right way,
yeah,
like, I'm going to be a very patient diner. And the fact that, like, I'll understand that there's a backup in the kitchen, somebody forgot something, but come out and address it. I may have talked about it on the pod, but a couple visits ago to my parents' house, we went out for sushi and they like fucked up our order, like forgot to ring it in, whatever. And instead of just coming up to the table and like owning up to it and, apologizing, the server instead did maybe the worst possible thing she could do and just decided she was going to avoid the table and not come back. And then when she did come finally and dropped food off, she like dropped it off like as quickly as she could, turned around and left. And I was like, well, now I need shit for the thing that you brought to me because I didn't get, my wasabi or whatever. But now you're gone and you didn't even ask if there was anything else I could get or she could get for me, It's like, now I'm just pissed because you're just ignoring me and I'm here as a paying customer. But
sure. And so like, I mean, one thing that we would do a lot, we did this at every restaurant that I've worked at, we've done this where like, if something is messed up for whatever reason, or even if it's just taking longer than expected, like to like find out like that something's taking a long time and like send them something, whatever that is. It's like a salad course. Like restaurants make a lot of money off salad. Doesn't fucking cost almost anything to send someone who's not having a good time a salad, and that is like will help their experience like a lot,
little app, like something,
or like an appetizer, especially like an appetizer, like I would prefer here's a hot take. I would prefer to have them screw up my meal and send me an extra course.
Yeah, 100%.
Get it to me eventually, but yeah, give me free shit. I love free shit. And you're right. I wouldn't feel upset about. And also, the people who get upset, like it's been, say, like a reasonable amount of time, 20 minutes. 20 minutes is longer than you should have to wait for your meal or like between courses. But if you can't sit with the people that you're dining with for 20 minutes, then you're a miserable fucking person, dude. Because a lot of times 25 minutes will go by and we don't even notice that anything's late because we're just like talking and like being humans, and dude, you see people get so upset about not just 20 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. People get like livid about it.
Also, if you're going into like a nice restaurant, like a steakhouse or a fine dining restaurant or whatever, you are kind of expected to order multiple courses, meaning like salad, appetizer, your entree, maybe dessert. And in doing that, you're allowing the kitchen time to cook your, double cut pork chop, your you know, 20-ounce ribeye tomahawk steak.
Yeah.
You know, like those things take a lot of time, you know, and I mean, that double cut pork chop, for example, I remember it taking a good like 22 minutes, something like that, to cook that thing. And so when you get that order in,
And rest.
yeah, you're when you get that order in, you're firing it right away. And ideally, they've also ordered, you know, a starter of some kind, an appetizer or a salad. So you're given that time for their starter to go out. And while that's happening, you're grilling this pork chop and then you're resting it, you know? So if you go out to one of those restaurants and you just order the 42-ounce tomahawk and then you're upset that your meal isn't at your table 25 minutes later, well, there's a good chance that it's probably either resting or maybe it's still on the grill, or maybe you ordered that thing well done and it's going to take you 40 minutes, you know? So it just be a conscious diner as well of like what it is that you've ordered and be realistic about what the wait time on something like that is.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting point that you brought up, which is like the expectation that you'll order multiple courses, and I don't disagree with you. But like, so like if we were in the restaurant and that happened, or let's say different scenario, someone comes in and they just split the chicken. Maybe they split the salad and the chicken.
Uh-huh.
I remember not being pleased with those diners. Should we be upset with them, or is that something that cooks should let go?
Cook should probably let that one go.
Okay.
I mean,
no, it's fair. I mean,
as a restaurant owner, like I could understand not being pleased with them, but that's also why there's an upcharge for a split, you know.
same type of thing though. I mean, you're taking up a seat to like,
Sure.
I think we would have called them, if we don't still call them, like not great diners.
Little baby birds out there.
Baby birds is what we would definitely call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that go into being a good diner, tipping well, obviously, but just being like human with the staff. How many times you just see it? I mean, almost every shift that I've ever worked, someone has come through the door and upset someone, even if it's going well, right? Like people are just like, they just live their lives just so upset all the time.
When it's the people that come into the restaurant, they're usuals. And they're always upset and they always complain about something. You know? It's like, why do you even come here anymore? You clearly don't like the food. Like you complain every single time you're in here. So why do you keep coming back? Go somewhere else.
See, I almost think that those people are just miserable people though.
They are.
And like they're upset here, they're upset there, they're upset at the house, they're upset in the morning, afternoon, evening, just big pouts, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We need to get past pouting.
Stay home.
Stay home if you're gonna pout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a good diner, I think it pays off. Not only do you tend to get hooked up on, you know, your food's taking a little longer, you've been a good customer. They're like, hey, let's send that guy or that couple or whatever a little something while they wait. Maybe we comp their drinks. Maybe we send out a free dessert at the end of the meal, something. But if you go to like a sushi bar and you're sitting at the bar, almost every time, if you're like a good customer and you like interact with the sushi chef and you just smile and you're patient with them, almost every time they give you free stuff.
Yeah.
It's the best.
We love free stuff.
Yeah, so especially free food.
Yeah, for sure.
Some off the menu, something that the chef just threw together.
Yeah.
Maybe he had actually the first time I ever had the hamachi collar, you know, the kama.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a situation like that, where it's sitting at the sushi bar, making small talk, sent out a sushi or a hamachi collar.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's tight.
Yeah. set off the menu stuff.
Yeah. You just got to be cool.
Yeah, just be cool. That's that's
How do
the
we
name of
teach
the
people
game.
to be cool? How do I reach these kids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Dining. It's not that hard.
Not that hard.
Be good at it. Bonus tip.
Yeah, bonus tip. Be a good diner.
Yeah. What other things make just the restaurant upset at things that shouldn't matter but do make people annoyed?
Well, talking about, or being at a restaurant where the intention or expectation is that you're going to order multiple courses. If you're the diner that doesn't order multiple courses and then you complain, and then the server comes back to the kitchen and they're like, "Hey, how long on table 6?" And you look at your ticket and you're like, "That came in 14 minutes ago."
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
You got other people ahead of you.
Yeah. I used to be like such a what's the word for it? Like a stickler for 12-minute ticket times. Or at least like I would like that was like the mindset of like being in the kitchen, at least. Not the dining part, but if I'm in the kitchen and I don't want you to have to wait more than 12 minutes for between courses. Now, I mean, that is with the expectation, like you
Between
said.
courses,
like,
yeah.
Right. Like, so if you did order that double cut pork chop, but you ordered a hot app, then you got your hot app in 10 minutes and then your pork chop came out at, 12 minutes after that.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the goal. I do think that. Is that unfair?
No, and I think that is perfectly fair. And I actually, as a diner, I would almost prefer like a 12-minute, timeout in between each course. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your food comes out way too fast. Like I haven't even finished my salad yet, and now my steak is here, or haven't finished the appetizer, and now my salad is here, and I'm still working on my salad, and then my steak is here. That could be irritating too.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's like, I think part of being a good diner is when you're 3/4 of the way through your appetizer and your entree comes out, and you're just like, oh, cool, thanks. Like,
Sure.
I'm not gonna make a stink about that.
No.
At the same time, if you flip the roles, I don't think that that's right. And if I was on the staff there, I would not like that.
No, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've also done that too. You know what it's like when you have like a full board and you're doing hot apps and you're doing entrees and you just like have to start getting some food out. You make those decisions at those times for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times it's not intentional either. You just, especially like a lot of times, if you're at a restaurant and you look over and you're like, oh, that table got here after me and they already got their food. Well, look at what they're eating as well, because maybe it came off of a different station than what yours did. Maybe it was just a quicker pickup than what you got. But also, depending on what else is being fired in the restaurant, if they were already making, X amount of salmon, sometimes it's easier to just fire an extra salmon. Sometimes that ticket will come in at the same time. I'm already firing 4 salmon, and then someone will call in, walking in 2 salmon. You're like, I'll just throw 2 more salmon on with this and make all the sets instead of making, 4 sides for that salmon dish. I'm just going to make 6, and you're just putting them all out together. So if you're wondering why that happens, sometimes that's why, it just
Sure.
luck of the draw for them.
Here's another one for being a good diner. Don't show up 30 minutes before your reservation. Because if I know front of the house staff, which I do, they will seat those people as soon as it's possible. And that doesn't like a lot of times reservations are set with the intention of controlling the flow of service, and that's not a great way to control the flow of service. Is if a lot of times everyone sits at the same time. It's fairly normal. You should be used to it if you're in the world, but like also a really good front of the house staff and a really good maitre d' will work really hard to not allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a 5:30, maybe the restaurant opens at 5:30, you have a 5:30 reservation, but you show up at 5:05.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's rough.
That's worst.
Yeah, that can be rough. Yeah, show up on time for your reservation. Sit down at the bar, get yourself get a drink.
It makes it really hard for the kitchen too. Like, do that last, leading up until the opening of the dining room. That kitchen is like busting their ass trying to get everything done in time. Yeah. You're looking at that clock over and over and over throughout that shift, and like you're counting the last seconds that you have. If you're that person that shows up for the first reservation of the night a half hour early, and then you're like, you've already decided what you're ordering, so the second that restaurant opens, the kitchen is getting a ticket. That really stresses the kitchen. Sure. When otherwise, like if you had gotten there on time, that buys the kitchen at least another 5 to 10 minutes for you to sit down, order your drinks, get your meal, decided, and then ring that in to the kitchen. And now that being said, maybe it's on the kitchen. They should have been set up properly prior to that, but it's just the reality of the game. I mean, sometimes you just got crushed the hard the night before, or your shipment didn't show up, or your shipment showed up late, and now I'm like butchering the double cut pork chops on the fly, and I'm like on the line like scraping the bones, trying to make these things look pretty before service, and you show up a half hour before your reservation, and then you ring in your ticket immediately. That kind of sucks. That kind of sucks for the kitchen.
Yeah, for sure. And just to like paint the picture a little bit, like often or almost always in places I've worked, you have a station. You prep that station on the same place that you're gonna serve food out of, right? So you're standing at the place in front of the hotline, and you have a bunch of prep projects going all at the same time. So like when a ticket comes in 15 minutes before the restaurant opens, usually like the line isn't set up all the way for service. It's like you're like moving plates around prep items to try to like make this thing, but you might have this half or like 3/4 of the way done like prep project that you're kind of like working with, and I don't know. It's kind of a disaster.
Yeah. It's not fun.
It's not ideal. And it's not all like, okay, you could say like, get there early, get more prep, but that's not also the reality either. A lot of times, and like a lot of my kitchen experiences in California, you have to take a half-hour break in California. We fought tooth and nail to like come in early at times when we could. Like we were like wanting to come in early, but a lot of times because of also the nature of restaurants and the tight margins of restaurants, there's a real focus on labor cost, and like the chef is just going to be like, no, like you can't come in at 12:30, you have to come in at 2, and then you have to take your half-hour break, and you got rocked the night before, so that gives you 2.5 hours to potentially prep like all the food. Not every restaurant operates in the same way, Azul, for example, like had like a really tight like prep setup where like there was still people doing prep throughout the evening, so they could kind of help out and do some of that stuff. But at Plum Jacks, like a lot of times you didn't have much help. And that's not shots fired. That's just like the reality of what's going on. It's also like some of the most badass I've felt in kitchens is like when you can rock out a prep list and you can crank the thing out from nothing. That's like, I feel like when you start feeling like you're really good at the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're like running from the second that you walk in there up until like the moment service starts, but you barely scrape by like getting all these things done. It's a hard thing to do. And I remember being like very I don't know, very proud of that. I guess you could say that. Another way to say that is just like fucking super high ego, like arrogant way to like, oh yeah, y'all couldn't fucking do this without me type shit. There's a combination of all those things. Of course they do it without you.
Yeah.
They don't do it as well, Ronnie.
Nope.
If we know anything, every place that we've left is worse off now than they were when they had us.
But you're always amazed too, like how many things you get done in that final 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, you know, like
Yeah.
when the odds are against you, how much you can crank out in a very short period of time.
Often we're ready for service late, and we're hoping that you order that thing, and we hope that you ordered an appetizer because we're still prepping the thing that's going to go on top of the pork chop.
Yeah. It's true.
It's kind of fun though. I don't know. I go back and forth on like how good that is for you, because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that's having like a healthy amount of stress in your life is like what can keep you really focused during a shift. You know, ideally you want plenty of time to get the thing done.
Of course.
But it's also, I don't know, it's good to not have that much time at times as well. I don't know. It's weird.
It's living.
It's living, baby.
LIVIN.
Yeah, it's weird. Cooks are weird. I have ADHD.
ADHD, PTSD.
Yeah.
You got it all.
Makes for good cooks, I think.
I'd agree. On that note, should we get into some sandwiches?
Sandwich time, baby.
What are you? Idiot.
You stupid idiot.
I'm an idiot sandwich.
You're an idiot.
Of all the idiots, you stand alone.
Idiot sandwich.
Hey, sandwich. Let's do it, Ronnie. I was reading an article on Board Panda. Shout out Board Panda.
I don't know that one.
It's a website, boardpanda.com. This is kind of like had a bunch of stories about funny food stories. So, and they're kind of they're like little like Twitter posts basically. So I'm gonna read a few of them. I think they're all pretty funny. This first one is, in my junior year of high school, this guy asked me on a date. He rented a Redbox movie and made a pizza. We were watching the movie and the oven beeped, so the pizza was done. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is the worst part." Then I watched this boy open the oven, pull the pizza out with his bare hands, rack and all, screaming at the top of his lungs. We never had a second date. What does that mean?
Why would you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I know when you're young and you're broke, but like if you're in high school, you're at your parents' house. And
You're just showing off.
you should, I don't know, slide the pizza onto something before you take it out.
That's crazy.
Use like, I don't know, a spatula, maybe. There's a lot of ways you can get a pizza out of an oven. Bare hands, probably not the most ideal one. Screaming at the top of your lungs, also act like you've been there before, bud.
I was working at a restaurant and they needed to pull something out of the oven. And there was like some kind of like argument, commotion, like so they were looking for towels or something to grab it with. And the chef jumped in and he was just not putting up with everyone's bullshit. And he just reached in and he grabbed that pan, bare hands, pulled it out of the oven, and then slammed it on top of the stove and then walked off the line. And it was like, record skipped. Everyone was like, holy shit. This is pretty gnarly. I haven't seen anybody do that since.
That's badass. Here, all right. Let me do one more. I got a couple more. One day I was sitting on my couch and I heard a slapping sound. I turned around and my friend is slapping the chicken. I asked what he was doing, and he said the recipe said to pat the chicken dry. I told him that he was supposed to use a towel. He went and got a bath towel. Yes, you are supposed to pat the chicken dry. That doesn't mean slap it with your hand. Paper towel. You could use a kitchen towel too. To dry the chicken, not slap it dry.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes we take recipes for granted because there's like little things in there that we understand, but like aren't maybe obvious. But yeah, sometimes you just have to question what the fuck you're doing. If you're just bare hand slapping a chicken titty, you might be doing something wrong.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. This one's my favorite right here. I once asked my boyfriend to open a jar of spaghetti sauce. When I turned around, he was pouring it into the boiling pasta water.
Wow.
Not helpful.
That is not helpful.
BF.
Those are all terrible.
They're bad.
Really bad.
Yeah.
It shocks me sometimes, like how some people just have but have so little cooking knowledge that they think that that's the right way to do something. There's actually a video I've seen a number of times, and this guy walks in and his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, she's got a pan of eggs, but they're whole eggs, and she's got like a wooden spoon and she's smashing the eggs in the pan. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm making scrambled eggs." He's like, "That's fucking disgusting." She's like, "Well, don't eat it then." Actually, this is funny in the same vein. One of our followers on Instagram messaged me the other day about a story where they had seen a cook pour full eggs into a Cambro and blend up the full eggs and then strain them through a chinois after. Don't do that.
Don't do that. I will say
that is disgusting.
I will say we did this place that I externed at, we did breakfast. And we would crack eggs into not a chinois, but a china cap. And over the, I don't know, it was a Cambro. So it was like, yeah. And so you'd crack all the eggs into the china cap and then kind of like ladle, like smash them through the thing. And then they would just be like scrambled eggs in the thing. And that worked. We weren't putting the shelled eggs in the thing.
Right, you were
to
just
be clear. But like there were
the yolk and the white through it.
But like the nature of cracking like multiple
you're always
pieces
going
of
to get
eggs
a couple
right.
pieces in there.
So we did used to do that, and we would but yeah, I couldn't really imagine cracking 60 eggs into a china cap and trying to push them through. It doesn't seem like the best way to do it. Yeah,
wild. It's also disgusting.
Gross.
I have one here on Reddit, and we've talked a lot about kitchen pranks. So this is very similar to many pranks that we have all pulled in the kitchen. A little hazing with the new guy, So this person said, fitting, his name is Guilty Citizen. Guilty Citizen says, "We had this game with the place next door that we pranked new hires with. one of us would tell the new guy that they needed to walk over to the other place and get a bucket of plate wax because we were out. The bucket of plate wax was just a 5-gallon bucket full of water. And even though we were fairly close, it was a good enough distance apart that schlepping a bucket of full of water across the parking lot fucking sucked.
That's great.
You know, in Tahoe, like there was enough restaurants close enough that every once in a while you get some young kid would walk into the back of the restaurant and they'd be like, hey, I work over at, the Rocker, and they sent me over here to get their bacon stretcher back. And then you'd be like, oh, we lent the bacon stretcher to, 22 Bistro. So they go over to 22 Bistro and they would ask them for the bacon stretcher and they'd be like, oh, we, is that the Dubliner? And so
Great.
It's
so great when everyone's on the same page with that. Like, cause you also like, oh yeah. And you like run to the back for like a minute or two and you come out and you're like, fuck, dude, I think we lent it to the other spot. Like you gotta, it's a fun time. The bacon stretcher, the bucket of steam is good.
Left-handed spatula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of good ones. Classic.
All in good fun.
All in good fun.
If the kitchen isn't sending you on a mission like that, they probably don't like you. Just know that.
That's true. Yeah. If you're new, if you're experienced, you're not going to get got like that. Yeah.
No.
They might try it, I guess, but they'll fail.
All right. School bus is here.
Beep, 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 beep.
How do you do it? Let me hit you with some knowledge.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
It's a Whipped Cream Salmon school for cooks that don't cook good.
Let's learn, Ronnie.
Let's learn stuff. Do you have a tip for our listeners?
I do. Yeah, this one's kind of simple. We've probably touched on it a little bit, but just in general, don't put food into a cold pan. Whether you're sauteing some vegetables or if you have a piece of meat, you're just not going to end up with the best product if you just cold. Yeah. Yeah, there are a few things that you start with a cold pan. You might want to render some bacon, start with a cold pan. You might want to, like you said, duck breast, render some fat. So you get like some fat melts off of it so that you can cook the rest of it in that fat. If you start with a really hot pan for that.
You do like a nice like sunny side egg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, eggs can be good like that. But if you have a chicken breast and you put it into a cold pan, or, worst case scenario, you have like a pan fried chicken and you have like cold oil and you put that breaded chicken into that cold oil, you're going to have yourself a soggy mess. Super gross. You're not, like the science is like, well, if you have a cold pan, you're going to start releasing water from that item. It's going to create steam. You're going to lose any chance that you had to get browning on that item. So yeah, don't put things in cold pans. There are a few things, but for the most part, and even the things that I'm talking about, like if you're inexperienced, start with a medium to high heat pan for sauteing stuff.
Yep, agreed.
You can, and bonus tip, like you should be testing that a little bit, right? Like if you're pan frying something, like, run your hand under some water and splash a little water in there. Make sure it pops. Like make sure it's hot. If you're doing like that pan fried chicken, like, hold it over there and let a couple of pieces of panko fall into there and see if they're ready to brown up, or dip part of the thing into there and don't be afraid to be like, no, this isn't the right time to put this thing in the pan. Yeah. So be better.
Good tip. Be better. And my tip, learn how to make a vinaigrette at home.
Ooh, that's a great one.
It's not difficult. Learning how to emulsify a vinaigrette or I mean any sauce, but a vinaigrette is a great place to start in your blender. Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing to learn. When I was a young cook and I was like getting into cooking and I was like excited to learn stuff. That was kind of one of the first things that I learned. I mean, a lot of cooks, you start at the bottom as, in like Garment J, making salads and stuff like that. So, I thought it was a cool thing to learn. And so you had a little science project, you're slowly drizzling in your oil. You'd like have to pay attention to the heat generated from your blender. If it does break, like learn how to re-emulsify it. If it's hot, you can add a little bit of cold water to it. If it's too thick, you can just add water to it as well, just to kind of thin it out. But yeah, to learn how to properly emulsify a vinaigrette. I think it's really fun.
Totally. And learn how to like balance out a vinaigrette as well. I think like,
Yeah.
You might see some recipes that are just basically like vinegar and oil. And that will get you the emulsion, but you'll probably end up with like something that's pretty acidic. And, often with vinaigrettes, like they need a little bit of sweetness to kind of balance them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, like, I don't know. Now, if I was going to like throw together a vinaigrette, super quick, super easy, I'd take like maybe 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, maybe like a shallot, a little tablespoon or teaspoon of like a Dijon, and then, throw in your vinegar, turn on your blender, and then just slowly drizzle in some oil, and then a little salt and pepper, and you get yourself a nice little vinaigrette.
Yeah.
Really easy.
It comes with a little bit of experience too. I mean, you kind of learn that like emulsifications are really fragile as they start, but once you get closer to the end, you can be a little more, you can be faster with it, right? So once you kind of know what you're doing, you can start your vinaigrette pretty slowly, but then like towards the end, you're like, okay, I can kind of tilt the bottle a little bit more to finish it out. But that's also how you screw it up. I mean, that's why I'm saying like it comes with experience and a little bit of
take it slow.
A little trial and error on that. If you're doing it, if you haven't done many, I mean, slow is the way to go.
Slow and steady.
Yeah. Nice, Ronnie.
Good job. Good job, everybody. Thanks for coming to school.
Great job. Yeah. Thanks for listening. You did a great job.
Appreciate
listeners.
You guys. Yeah. Little cream heads.
Follow us on socials, Whipped Cream Salmon Podcast. Shoot us an email, whippedcreamsalmon@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you next week.
Love you.
Peace. Stay creamy.
Stay creamy.
Bye.
Bye.